want to welcome you to our show today. This is Artist of Hawaii on Oahu. And today in the studio I have 3 artists that were under the art teacher at Nanakuli High School, Tatsua? Itsua. And these guys have lots to talk about. We're going to talk about the teacher. He's not still around anymore, but he influenced many other artists and lives on the Nanakuli coast and on the whole entire Waianae coast. These gentlemen went together and did a mural recently together.
Yes, they did.
And I was able to see the mural and meet Frank. And Frank introduced me to the 2 men here now. There's Kenneth, Juan, and we have Joe Mamoa.
Me?
How about
okay.
Frank?
If I'm gonna go first.
So here we are in the studio. We're going to talk a lot about the teacher.
Yes.
Who inspired. Who's first?
I'm gonna talk about Joe and Kenneth.
Let's talk about
And
your
Desmond,
teacher
yeah.
first.
But
And you can-
first of all, I can't see you with your glasses on, so you need to.
Yeah,
take-
because the lights will
Oh,
water
I should have brought
down
mine.
my eye.
He just wants to be Hollywood.
That's all right.
But yeah, Mr. Sukano, he caught me in class. I guess in the intermediate, that's how he finds his artists. You know, he'll throw out paper, and whoever comes up with something nice, he'll say, "Okay, I need to talk to you after class." Then he'll set us up with some paper, some pencils, some fun eraser you could pull open, and then put it in a big envelope. Send you home. Here, draw this and draw that. Come back. We'd be like, okay. Then you'd go on campus, and everybody would see you with your giant envelope, saying, "Wow, you got the envelope, Sukano's boy, whole artist." And I'd be like, "Yeah, Sukano's boy." But then when you go to his class, you see like art. Everything is art. You'd see sculpture, like realistic dinosaur made of paper mache. You'd see Joel's artwork, Body Surfer, and then you see his name Momoa. Like, oh,
Joe,
this is the guy everybody's talking about. Joe.
what are some of the skills that he taught? The specifics.
Oh man.
So you were talking about
Like-
paper mache.
Okay, he taught paper mache. He taught everything. Yeah, you can't really take a day to explain Mr. Sukano. It'll take a week to
Yep.
explain his
Just
artistic
about.
values
This is
and
only a
everything
30-minute
that he
show.
taught. His character is hard to follow. You gotta really take his after-school class,
Yeah.
and then he'll teach you a day at a time after school, and just
Yeah.
nurture you and build more of the character you already have, and fine detail you, and turn you into what he called us was magnificent.
Oh,
So
nice.
by the time you reach your high school
Nice.
year, you'd be a general, and he'll say, "Okay, now you're like the butterfly about to bloom. Now go ahead. I did my part. Now it's time to do your part."
Oh, that was inspirational.
Oh yeah, Mr. Sukano, our teacher.
So,
I have a blast from the past.
mhm.
Joe, can you pass me one piece of paper right there? Is it
Oh,
a
man.
paper that I can
Yeah.
work with?
It is.
Okay. So, talking visual. I remember Mr. Sukano, and since he's passed, but still present with us, to me now he's Kumu Sukano. He's reached that level, you know.
Sensei.
We don't happen to have a picture of Sukano, do we?
I did bring the picture.
Oh, you did bring it? Oh,
What
okay.
I'm doing now is what Sukano told us
Magic
as students,
man.
if you folks remember. Take a piece of paper and fold it in half,
Okay.
and then fold it in half again. I don't know if he did it in your guys' time. Joe, you
He
remember
probably did.
Frank?
He probably did.
He said, "Okay, open the paper. You have 4 squares." And then 1, 2, 3, 4. He would give you a subject matter.
Oh.
That's how he started. That's what I remember when I got serious with Mr. Momoa's help. I told her the story, Joe. Now we got to share. It wasn't too competitive, but some of us took it that way, and it was good because it would kind of inspire us to oh, I like what Joe was always the one. Oh man, I want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
And Frank talked about the folder. It was very important when we made the achievement of art student in Mr. Sukano's, Kumo Sukano's class.
Yeah.
We
Big
would be
manila
given
paper,
the oak
with
tag
tape.
Yeah.
Oak tag, tape.
folder about yay big. And what each of us did was draw or paint something on it. So we could walk around campus and show our stuff.
Yeah.
You know.
So you
And
have your own
everybody
logo.
would know.
We were artists.
Yeah, that's an artist.
Artist.
That's an artist. As he would bring new students in, he would start with this, just a number 2 pencil, you know, and then from there, he would introduce you to different mediums, you know.
Yes.
The paint came in way after. He wanted you to get, I guess, the
Drawing, sketch.
contrast,
Mhm.
darks and lights.
Ah, yes.
So he worked with that. He would sometimes take us outside of his classroom to kind of see how shadows work with light. You know, he would introduce us kind of baby steps, you know, of course, this being the first one. Between all this, he was instilling imagination.
Okay.
He also gave the freedom. Give you a little bit direction, step back, you know,
Okay. So
and-
his style was really teaching you your style,
Yeah. Yeah.
bringing it out.
bringing out
creating
your
your style.
creativity. Yeah. So that
He was
was
really good
and
at
Yeah.
that.
He pour the fuel into each one of you,
Yes.
so you could keep running and propel yourselves forward to.
And we would
Your
bounce
career.
off each other. I mean, Joe
Yeah.
kind of stand in his own caliber, you know. He inspired a lot of generations of artists till today.
All
But I
right.
didn't know I had a calendar. I was really learning myself.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I really appreciate it's gone. There's more things that I will say about him later. But Frank wasn't under my tutelage.
Yeah.
Frank
I
had his
was
own
with,
tutelage.
Desmond Donovan.
He picked up on what he did,
Yeah.
on what he wants.
And then
But same way with all of our artists. The only one that I really I appreciate what Mr. Sukano did teach is that this man took all, you would say, the crap. Everything was loaded up on this man. This man did everything for all of the artists. This was the backbone, I would say, backbone for Sukano. I was maybe out there in the front, but who made the paperwork? Who made the canvases? Who made this? This man has more knowledge than all of us could put together. And when I look back and I saw it, then I realized the gift was given to him. I took the limelight because I didn't know what I was doing. I just did my art. But when I really went to Liberty House and I found out where this man had that talent from, he got it from Sukano. And I didn't have that. I didn't. I was just given, oh, here, eat this fruit. But meanwhile, this guy had to go grow the fruit. He had to make the fruit. He had to prepare it. People don't look at these people. So that's why I look back, always look back now.
Yeah.
Never step forward. Like my son, he's in movies. I tell him to look back. Look at the cameraman. Look at the people that set up your chairs, feed you, give you lunch. These people make you who you are. So that's what most of our artists, we forget. We forget that until I met Kenneth Kwan, and everything that I wanted, he had it. Because what I was trying to learn, Sukano was in front of me teaching me that. But this boy learned everything that was what I was looking for, and I found it, which is airbrushing now. And I learned how to airbrush from this man. And my
Yes, he
art
was
is
talking a
beautiful.
lot about his
I love it.
airbrushing.
Yeah. It bounced.
Yeah,
I
it was
mean,
the feedback.
it bounced around us so many times. I spoke to you before we went on camera that I think if Joe didn't do what he did in my life at that point, at that
Yep.
time, I don't know what I would have been. But he seen me searching, and all he had to do was get me focused. And he did it the Hawaiian way, of course.
Oh, yeah.
And I thank
Correct.
Mr. Momo, Joe, thank you so much.
But
But
I
at
learned.
that point, I knew, okay, this is serious stuff.
Yeah.
This man is talented, taught by this person who should have been a great, world-renowned artist, worldwide. And almost like the Father Damien, who gave it all up, just for a few. He planted his seed with us, and Joe mentored me some way, some
Yeah.
way.
So
I
give
was
it-
fortunate.
Yeah.
I came back here. I spent 4 more years after graduation working for Nanakuli High School.
I asked Mr. Sukano this question. Let me ask you folks the same question and see how you folks answer it.
Sure,
because
go ahead.
I asked Mr. Sukano one day, I said, Mr. Sukano, you don't have to be here teaching art. You can be on your
Exactly.
own
Mhm.
painting and becoming famous. Why don't you do that? He didn't answer it. How would you answer that about our teacher?
Ooh. Father Damien, that was his quest, I
Sacrifice.
believe.
Yeah,
He loved
a quest.
Nanakuli.
You know, the people.
Yes.
He loved Nanakuli.
Teaching.
Ooh, emotional.
Yeah.
Yes.
Imagine art without Mr. Sukano.
This is a deep segment.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it
it's,
is.
Yeah.
it pulled at
Yeah.
my heart when I heard about
Mhm.
the teacher that gave
Yeah.
all,
He gave all.
Yeah.
all
He did.
this art, all the imagination, all the excitement, all the skills
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
students who have gone out now and they're
And he,
creating a work of art right here in front of me. Wow, I
Yeah.
gotta meet
yeah.
the other students and we have to talk about this teacher.
There's so
Mr.
much
Sukano.
snapshots of him. In doing the basic stuff, I recall, he took us on this imagination ride, if you can call it, on this spaceship.
Yeah.
It became Mr. Sukano's trademark. If you
Oh.
didn't go on his spaceship, you don't know Mr. Sukano. Aokumu. Then he would break out his easel with those big old flip back papers.
Oh man.
Oh, yeah.
And I recall, I think Joe and Frank also recall.
Oh
That's
yeah.
right.
He
Oh,
would
yeah.
sketch just with a Sharpie. He
Oh.
would sketch, let's say, a 1-year-old baby. Remember, guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
And just in couple strokes, you would see that baby age to age 5.
Ooh.
Couple
Yeah.
more strokes, a teen. Couple more strokes in the 20s. He would go all the way
Awesome.
until this person would look 90 plus years old.
Oh, that's
You
awesome.
remember that, guys?
Wow.
Yes, I did.
Oh yeah.
So
I wish I
he's
could see that now.
oh, and chicken skin.
Oh,
yeah.
me too. But I'm
It's
not,
very
I
good.
At
wasn't
the end, he
there.
would say, "Oh, what am I doing? I'm left-handed." But we found out later he could draw with 2 hands.
I'm talking about the old Camp Andrews area. Now I was in the
Yes.
7th grade. I believe Joe was in the 9th grade. Frank, you was elementary school,
Yeah.
but you was coming on.
My mom was telling me about these great artists,
Yeah.
Your mom.
especially Joe Momoa. She said, "You
Yeah.
gotta learn
But
from
back
Joe
then,
Momoa."
that's when I was introducing. You know, I was always curious. Like, okay,
He always
Mr.
came to the back
Sukano
room.
would play with your imagination, but to stimulate your mind,
Uh-huh.
get your process thinking.
To open your mind,
Yeah.
go beyond the
And
universe.
even I got a thought. Joe reminded me of we had our 50th anniversary up here in Nanakuli High School. 50 years went by since the first graduating class. 1972. Joe being the 73.
73.
Yeah, right after
Right.
that.
Wow,
So
wow.
Joe is like the
One of the
pure
ancients.
stock over here.
One of the
I
ancients.
graduated in
One of the
76, and
seedlings.
So I
Frank,
want to look at your age.
Frank, you graduated in
83.
83. Frank came in under our direction. Mr. Sukano had an after-school art class here. When I returned in 1980, I was doing campus security work here at the school. I asked Mr. Sukano, your after-school art class? He goes, I'm gonna retire soon. And he told me this, and I'll never forget it. He said, why don't you take it
Ooh.
and go look for Joe?
He knew.
Joe was so status, you didn't have to say Momoa. Joe was Joe. Everybody knew Joe. And I like, I don't have a degree, go no need. Because it was a non-credit course. And Kathy Payne.
Kathy Payne. Yeah,
And she
was
rekindled Mr. Sukano's Nanakuli High School after-school art class.
Oh, that's nice.
And then we continued on. That's when Frank came aboard as our student. But actually, Mr. Sukano's student, now we're
yeah.
kind of nurturing his way of teaching.
So you know a lot about his style and how he taught.
And then I asked him the question. I said, Mr. Sukano, when do you know you're an artist? I said, the three things, you don't know. He said, you have to eat it, you have to sleep it,
Oh.
and you have to do the number 2 with it. And he said, don't stop what you're doing. Don't stop what you're doing. You know, proud moment. But he took backseat for all of us.
Yeah, but here he is with local kids that had nothing to give back to him. And that's the nice part about it. All the people in Nanakuli, Waianae, all came to him whenever he asked. He asked Kamakila Campbell. He asked Agnes Cope. He asked Uncle Black. He asked all the big heads of
The community.
Henry Peters, all these people to help our art class. He brought all the people from all around, and the people jumped in there like, okay, for our kids, you know, what they need, what do they need? Sukano, he needed an after-school class. Boom, they came in. He asked the DOA, boom, they came in trying to help the art class to make it, you know, what we are. But if you really look at it, we were just little kids that don't even know nothing about art. And he was gonna make us famous. Little less do we know where we're gonna be famous in our own right, in our own mind and in our heart. So he didn't give that up and say, I could have made money. I could have been doing concerts. I could have been doing Disney with his talent. He had that. Because he could have been movies. Because always when I talk about art, about Sukano, as an art teacher, I always emphasize to all my friends, he wasn't, first of all, he was cuckoo. That's what I try to educate. So when you have a cuckoo, a man with a imagination that can pull and rip you and do this and that, and still be enough for you to understand what he's talking about. That's what a true artist, I would say, is that he, when he was teaching me, he made me do things like, this would be a palm of my hand. So if you were to draw that, so you could just see that, that's too normal. You're like, so I drew the hand when I first met him, and he made a whole class, draw your hand. Draw what's right there, just draw your hand. Yeah.
One was perspective,
Perspective. That's where the elongation came in.
elongation,
Yes.
you know. It was these words that was like, huh? That means that. I remember what Joe was
I was in the
saying.
blind, I was like,
Show me from the top, show me from the bottom.
exactly.
In one piece, Joe, awesome, because he would show all these different perspectives
Yes.
in this one creation.
And you did some of
And
that work, too,
that's
Oh, yeah.
what
Like big
Sukano
fellas and
encouraged.
the arms that way
Stretch it,
Wow.
pull it.
Canoes.
He would every year get us into the National Art Scholastic
Yeah.
Art Contest. It used to be held at the Ala Moana Shopping Center. And then I think it moved to the mayor's, whatever the mayor's office is called, Honolulu Hale. So I remember
Yeah, they-
doing mixed media using ink
Yeah.
and acrylic. And I'm near completion, and I had the Indian ink bottle right there, or right here, and I'm like tired.
It happened.
And right off the corner, if this is the piece, I'm near completion, and boom, and the ink bottle spills in this corner like a web, and I'm like, and
What?
Mr. Sukano, this is his famous, he would, and I'm like, and he said, wait, it's okay, it's awesome, beautiful.
Hard work.
And I'm like, no, it's the ink over my picture. And he said, wait, you see it, you see it. And he walks away. And I'm over there, and here comes Brother Joe emphasizing, that's okay, you will get him. I'm like, oh no, this ain't gonna work.
Okay.
It's hours to the show, and we gotta take our stuff in. I watch the ink dry. As the ink's drying, I see the impression I left with the pencil.
Oh.
So you imagine multicolored acrylic like this, and ink spills over it. And I see what I drew. Imagination went off. And I said, oh, it's kind of like a negative.
Negative, positive.
So I took white paint, and wherever I
White on
see an
white.
impression,
White on
I
white.
would paint it in white. Okay?
It was reversed.
Oh,
I finished it. Mr. Sukano came back. He goes, see?
Oh,
And
man.
I'm like, wow. And then we got ready for the show. It went down, and lo and behold, that creation, that piece, gave me a National Scholastic Award.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, a little gold pin, but I will always remember that. So even in what the normal person would call a mistake or error,
Uh-huh.
Sukano's seen it as opportunity. That's an
Wow.
art. Boom.
And that's imagination. It's creating imagination in you. Because
Yeah.
if he wouldn't have said anything, you would have been,
Oh, I was about to do that.
Yeah, but
Yeah, he
Most
used
people
that,
would throw their
he had
artwork
that
away.
vision
Yes.
to see and capture the same thing he had. He just needed to teach it to us to capture everything in the art that
Never
we
give
saw.
up.
So,
right.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're getting close to the end of the show. I'm
Okay,
so
well,
sad.
let's-
There's so much we could talk about.
Yeah, if I could say one more stuff.
Sure.
Every time when I talk about my art,
Mm-hmm.
he was teaching us to use art. Art in the world is what made the world.
Oh, yes.
Art.
Mhm.
Art makes the world. Then the scientist takes our art, which is in here, and then it produces through mathematics and art to create this scientific stuff that we thought of it. Well, you know, as an artist, using imagination to create art, and art will come into time when the science figure it out. Oh yeah, a bus can fly. No, a bus don't fly. We see big planes carrying tanks in the
Yes.
air, which is the big
Shut up.
Boeings. And then we will talk to this person on this little thing over there across Atlantic, or you know, wherever, how far away. Now we have all this right now. He was trying to teach us that ahead. He had that building that he had. It was space, and he had this ship passing through. He had the lights going on. He had his own animation of what Star Wars. He had his dinosaur made. He had a caveman, a statue.
That's right.
So all these things are coming to pass. He had big whales, things that we had, and they were flying and stuff like that. So now you see Jurassic Park.
Oh, yes.
All of these coming to pass. You see Wyling doing his big wall. He was already teaching us to do animals under the sea. I was drawing like a anchor coming down, and a boat was way up there.
Mm.
And all this, what Wiley and them already doing on the big wall, we were almost doing it within our time of the year. Kenneth did some awesome stuff with the Mauna Kea. It's come to pass. They're talking of his pain,
Yes.
of what he felt back then. Now it's coming to pass. The mountain is asking for help. So, you know, all these things, to open your mind. Art is so important. Makes everything come to pass. The science will bring it and make it awesome, but we need to use our head.
Mm.
You know, just create everything. So
Oh.
said,
Oh, yes.
that's
That's
what
true
makes
what
an
you said.
artist. You need to open your mind.
Yeah.
Look beyond space.
A creation doesn't speak, but it says a lot.
Yeah.
That's what he taught us.
Mhm.
Our paintings or our creations would speak for itself. You'd go in there, like what Joseph said, just recently with all the controversy with the Mauna, I created what
Beautiful
I
painting.
tried to, I was trying to create the essence of the Aloha spirit. Plain and simple.
Yeah.
In 1981, I was getting ready for another one-man art show, and I was really into the culture, trying to learn our people and our places. So I said I want to combine what represents our people and where we live in
Yes.
one picture.
Okay.
So what would be the symbol of where we live?
Hawaii.
Mauna Kea.
Ah.
Beautiful painting.
So
you gotta see it. Beautiful.
and I'll show it to you. Maybe you can dub it in.
Yes, yes.
So
Please do.
I captured Mauna Kea, and I gotta give credit where credit is due. I seen this on an album jacket by the brothers Casimiro.
Oh.
It was called Hawaii in the Middle of the Sea. John DeMello took this beautiful picture of Mauna Kea, and it has two sources of light, which is interesting. It makes the colors green and purple and orange.
Ooh.
So it's, imagine looking at the summit, you see the moon rays, you see the morning sunrise, and they hit the mid portion, which you are above, like high.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so, that's why everybody's got their eye there as far as science. But what I seen, I'm like, oh my goodness, that represents our land, our land, you know. Now it came to the people of the land, because the name of my art show was People and Places of Hawaii.
Oh.
So I made this one. As I'm painting it, I say, okay, the spirit of aloha. What is the spirit of aloha? We give aloha, 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 you know. And I always remember aloha being right here. How do you show love? Well, in our kanaka ma'olewe, our love is pure. And the only way I could really show it in this picture was, I'm going to give a lei.
Oh, yes.
So there's this wahine image, a lady's image, holding a lei right in the front of Mauna Kea. And I'll share that picture with you. And many requests to purchase it. And I don't know until present, and now I know I never took anybody up on the sale. And I gave it to my children, and it's their heirloom on behalf of me. And now I know why, because Mauna Kea is not for sale. Love, that's what it is, and this lei. But Sukano, Mr. Sukano, he was the one that gave us this freedom to create. And he still lives.
Do you?
You see it.
Yes.
And for many generations, I know Sukano took the back seat. Like, I have to be honest, Joe took the back seat because we sparred. And presently, I'm taking the back seat. Here is your new leader of Mr. Sukano's quest. And I know he will inspire many more upcoming leaders in the way that Sukano taught us, you know.
Yes.
Creativity, it's never ending. As no one can measure space, that's creativity. That's what Mr. Sukano taught us. There is no last number.
So awesome. I hope the audience enjoys this too, and you see what a wonderful, rich, vibrant legacy that Mr. Sukano left behind. And he's not gone, he's still with us.
Yeah.
He lives in these guys and future generations. Aloha, from
Aloha.
Artists of Hawaii
Thanks, Lisa.
on Oahu.
Thank you.